Arkansas bill, and this is according to the Washington Stand. Again, I will cite all the resources I use in the description box so that you can read those for yourself. But this bill would prohibit state officials from forcing faith-based adoption groups, foster care groups, from placing children in homes that go against an agency's doctrinal statement and beliefs. And this was just signed into law by Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders. This was House Bill 1669, also known as Keep Kids First Act, and that is going to be the portion of the episode that I focus on, why this bill is called Keep Kids First. Anyway, this new law prohibits the state government from requiring faith-based organizations to place children specifically with any homes that go against the agency's beliefs. So this most definitely includes and is meant to include same-sex couples, LGBTQ couples. This bill allows faith-based organizations to once again have the ability to say no. Our children are going to be placed with families that align with our values, that align with our belief system. Now, of course, opponents of this legislation cite discrimination, of how dare you not allow a same-sex couple to adopt a child through your agency. But what this bill actually is a reinforcement of religious liberty and religious freedom when it comes to private institutions and private organizations. And this is what Alliance Defending Freedom, if you don't know who the ADF is, they are a nonprofit religious liberty firm, and they've actually successfully argued cases before the Supreme Court of the United States. So this is what their senior counsel, Greg Chauvin, said in a statement this past weekend. He said, "Every child deserves a loving home that can provide them stability and opportunities to grow. Yet other states have put politics over people by excluding caring families and faith-based adoption and foster care organizations from helping children find loving homes." So this bill is just fantastic. It not only allows faith-based organizations to freely market, if you will, the adoption care that they can give, the foster care organization that they can give, but it allows them to say no to a lot of these dangerous homes. And you might be wondering, Alyssa, why are you saying that a same-sex couple household is dangerous? And that is the meat of the episode that I want to get into. Again, this House bill is called the Keep Kids First Act, and there is a reason why it is called that. And what people don't like to acknowledge is children need both a mom and a dad in the home. If you remember what I just cited from the senior counsel, Greg Chauvin from ADF, he mentioned that children deserve a stabilizing home. Most definitely, according to research and statistics and societal outcomes, same-sex couples do not produce stable children. They just don't. And there's a reason for that. It's because children need a father and a mother in the home. But specifically, what I want to focus on in this episode is the fatherlessness issue. We already have a fatherlessness crisis in America, especially when it comes to the Black community. We see fatherlessness in the home in record numbers there. We see what it's done to that community. We see that that community is more likely to commit violent crime, more likely to be promiscuous, more likely to engage in drug-related incidents. And if you follow Self-Evident on Instagram, you would have seen that I posted a video in response to two moms, I think they're quote unquote married to each other, I'm not sure, that have kids and obviously no father. These kids have two moms, supposedly, and they're just answering commonly asked questions about their dynamic that they have. And I did a response to the video, so you can go check that out. I'll also link that in the description. So that's why I want to focus on the fatherlessness issue and just note some facts about the research that has backed up why same-sex couples is not a good idea for children, specifically why not having a father in the picture is a very damaging idea. So first, I want to note the healthy aspect of having a father in the home, and then I'll note the negative aspect. And of course, I will link the study that I'm citing in the description below. And these are just some 10 quick facts about the importance of father engagement in the home. The first one is attachment, and the study notes that fathers and infants can be as attached as mothers and infants. When both parents are involved, infants form attachments to both from birth. And as you know, if you've ever taken a basic psychology class in college, you will have gone through all the different kind of attachments and how all the different kind of attachments, from securely attached to insecurely attached, all of those have direct impact on the emotional stability and development of children. So having a father that is present and attaching and bonding with his children in the home actively is vitally important to healthy emotional outcomes and societal outcomes for that child. And the second one is health outcomes. Father involvement is linked to positive child health outcomes in babies, like improved weight gain in preterm infants and higher breastfeeding rates. And as someone who is about to give birth in the next month or two, who knows when she decides to come, that shocked me that father involvement was directly linked to better weight gain in babies and also a better breastfeeding experience, better nursing experience. That was astounding to me. And I'm already pro, having a father in the home. My husband is very active as a husband, and I know he's going to be active as a father. But it was just kind of cool that there is a direct impact even on my body, having my husband be present with our children. So that was interesting to me. And the third one is authoritative parenting. Father involvement using authoritative parenting, loving with clear boundaries and expectations, leads to better emotional, academic, social, and behavioral outcomes for children. This one should not be a surprise to us. Number 4, future success. Children close to their father are twice as likely to enter college or find stable employment after high school, 75% less likely to have teen pregnancy, 80% less likely to go to jail, and half as likely to experience multiple depression symptoms. There is a direct link to future success for children when they come from families who had a present, active father in the home. Number 5, fathers are crucial in child development. Father's absence hinders development from infancy to childhood, with psychological harm persisting throughout life. Absence matters. And especially when it comes to a same-sex couple who are 2 women, and I can get into having 2 dads, quote unquote, in another episode. But this episode, I'm specifically thinking about 2 women having no father in the home. Again, having no mom in the home will be another episode at another time. But having no father in the home directly impacts adulthood and psychological harm. And if you look at a lot of the communities or a lot of the lifestyles that persist, for example, if you've ever seen the man on the street interviews that will ask women who engage in promiscuous lifestyles, whether it's as an OnlyFans model, whether it's in some other kind of promiscuous work, or whether they're in a really bad relationship with an abusive boyfriend, whatever the case may be, you always find out. And the Whatever podcast actually does a great job of unpacking this more, that when you get to the root of it, most of the girls in those situations have dad problems. Either the dad was absent, or he was not emotionally present, he was abusive, he was in and out of the picture. Having a father that is present definitely impacts how good your life is going to be on a general scale. I'm not saying you can't have people that overcome the odds in their life. I think it's beautiful when they're able to do that. But on a general scale, you can tell when you look at societal problems and when you look at individuals, which ones have dad problems. And it's sad that you can do that, but it's actually very interesting that we can do that as well. Number 6, the quality of father-child relationships matters more than the hours spent together. And I think this is really important, especially for me and my husband becoming parents, especially the hours that my husband works and the time he gives to the work that he has, which is important, obviously, for the betterment of our family, that it's not about how long you spend with your children. It's about what are you doing with them with the time that you have. And oftentimes what we'll see parents do with children is as soon as there's time, you turn on the TV and you put a show on. Whereas really good quality time should look like more interactions, more conversations, more questions, more playing. And I just have such a great memory of that being my dad when I was growing up, that when he would come home from work, especially when it was summertime, we would go outside and we would play baseball, or we would go to the park, or we would go feed the ducks. And those are the memories that I hold captive in my mind. Or we would go swim in the pool. We had a pool in the backyard as a kid. Um, those are the memories that I hold as an adult that were the most special to me as a kid. It wasn't about, oh, dad only spent this much amount of time with me. It was, oh, look what we did in the time that we spent together. So that has direct impact on the success of children in the future. Number 7, high levels of father involvement correlate with higher levels of sociability, confidence, self-control. Number 8, children with more activity in a father, more involved fathers, are 43% more likely to earn A's, 33% less likely to repeat a grade than those without engaged dads. So academic success is directly linked with whether or not your father is involved in your life. And then you obviously have behavioral and economic benefits, that father engagement reduces behavioral problems in boys, decreases delinquency and economic disadvantage in low-income families. And number 10, father engagement reduces psychological problems and depression rates in young women. Again, what I was talking about in the Whatever podcast, whenever I've seen an episode, I can 100% tell you which girls have dad problems, which girls have, like I was saying before, either their dad was absent. And now we kind of get on to the negative aspect of father absence. And what I was saying in the first 10 points that I was making, there were some negative aspects mixed in, but I wanted to kind of more focus on the positive of how well children do when they have fathers. And according to a 2007 UNICEF report on child well-being in advanced nations, kids in the US, Canada, and the UK ranked extremely low in social and emotional well-being. A largely ignored factor among child and family policymakers is the prevalence and devastating effects of father's absence in children's lives. Studies show that children without fathers at home suffer greatly, even before birth. A father's attitude regarding the pregnancy, prenatal behaviors, and the father-mother relationship may indirectly influence risk for adverse birth outcomes. School-age children with good relationships with their fathers are less likely to experience depression, disruptive behavior, lying, and more likely to exhibit prosocial behavior. Fatherless homes significantly impact adolescents. These children are more likely to experience the effects of poverty. And this is from former President George W. Bush. He stated that, quote, "Over the past 4 decades, fatherlessness has emerged as one of our greatest social problems. We know that children who grow up with absent fathers can suffer lasting damage. They are more likely to end up in poverty or drop out of school, become addicted to drugs, have a child out of wedlock, or end up in prison. Fatherlessness is not the only cause of these things, but our nation must recognize it as an important factor." And I think that's a great way of putting it, that of course you can come from an amazing family and still make the decision to make bad decisions. So I'm not saying that having a father in the home is a complete fail-safe to protecting children from making bad choices and living with those bad choices. However, it is one of the biggest factors of whether or not children will experience the bad choices of teen pregnancy, drug involvement, etc., when you can see whether or not a father is involved. And this is then on to more negative things when it comes to having no father in the home. According to Psychology Today, father absence diminishes self-concept and security, more behavioral problems, poor academic performance, and this was kind of only noted before. You have 85% of imprisoned youth have an absent father. You have more promiscuity, more teen pregnancy, more drug and alcohol abuse. 90% of runaway children have an absent father. Exploitation and abuse is higher for children that come from fatherless homes, physical health problems like headaches, stomach aches, acute chronic pain, asthma, mental health disorders like anxiety, depression, suicide are more prevalent in children who come from a fatherless home. As adults, fatherless children are more likely to face unemployment, low incomes, remain on social assistance, experience homelessness. And in future relationships, children who grow up without a father tend to enter partnerships earlier, are more likely to divorce or dissolve their cohabitating unions, and are more likely to have children outside of marriage or partnerships. And this is the last one that I'll note. Fatherless children are more likely to die as children and live 4 years less on average. So even your life expectancy coming from a fatherless home can be significantly impacted. And so I know I just gave a lot of facts, a lot of statistics. I read a lot of things, but I want to hammer home and buck against this idea that legalizing gay marriage in the Obergefell decision would have no lasting impact on society. It would do nothing to harm anybody. You were just letting people live the way they want. You were giving people freedom to choose to love. How beautiful is that? And we're seeing the devastating effects of that. We're seeing, like I just referenced, I made a video about this for Self-Evident social media, that women are adopting, women are using donor sperm to have children without a father. Children are growing up in same-sex couple unions with two moms or two dads. Again, with this episode, I'm specifically thinking of having two moms, and we're expected to think that this has no impact. And it's just not true. Children not only need, like I've cited from the multiple resources and multiple studies, not only do they need a father in the home, they deserve a father in the home. Every child deserves to have stability. They deserve to be loved. They deserve to be known and cared about by both parents, both a mom and a dad. And until we as a society recognize the very great damage that has been done to children because we have fudged so much on the issue of same-sex unions, same-sex couples, even in the conservative movement, being gay or being lesbian is so much more accepted. Until we recognize that accepting those things is part of the problem, we're never going to really get to the root or really get to the solution of how we can take our culture back. And of course, at the end of the day, what our culture needs is repentance, because Romans 1 is very clear that same-sex unions, same-sex couples is unnatural. It is against the created order. It's against God's design for the family. And so, of course, we shouldn't be surprised when you go against God's design for the family that devastating societal effects occur. And children are always the unconsenting victims of these societal social experiments. Children that are growing up right now, the kids that I mentioned in the video that I produced for Self-Evident, that have quote unquote two moms, they are an experiment right now of how will they end up never knowing their father, never being told that they had a father, because all they've ever known is that they have two moms. They're experiments right now, and they're unconsenting to that experiment. Again, children not only need a father in the home, but they deserve a father in the home. So Christian, we need to take the issue of same-sex couples more seriously than we have been. I'm seeing in the Christian conservative movement that we're too lax on that. We need to take it more seriously because children are being directly impacted by this, and it's our job to not only stand for truth, but to stand for the most vulnerable among us, and that is most definitely children who have no voice to speak for themselves. All right, that's all for this episode. Today, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was enlightening for you. And until next time, let us firmly rely on the protection of divine providence. This is Self-Evident.